Hey guys, it's Fred Financial here. This Financial Friday, I'm here with Josh Messina. He's a lender at Homebridge Financial, right? And we're here on how to. We're going to be talking about how anybody can buy a house. So no matter your background, we're going to go over it all. Bear with us. Josh, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Again, my name is Josh Messina. I work at Homebridge Financial Services. You know, ironically, and I hear from my clients all the time, I'm an Arizona native. I guess that's pretty surprising. Born and raised in the northwest part of the valley in Peoria, Arizona. I attended Arizona State University and graduated W. Carey School of Business. Kind of established roots. I got friends and family here, and you know, I'm just like any other normal mid-20s guy. I mean, I like hanging out with my peers and staying active and going to sport events and things like that. So you know, but a big portion of my life is, you know, my business and sustaining that and keeping on growing. So that's just a little bit of who I am.
Nice, perfect. So one of the biggest common questions with buying a house that I get from a lot of people, I've actually had a couple people inbox me and send me emails about this. What are we looking at money wise? What do people need nowadays in order to buy a house and go through the whole process?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, to be completely honest with you, because it really depends on your scenario, right? So there's about 3 or 4 different components that make up you know, you purchasing a home. You know, credit's one, you know, assets, you know, down payment, you know, money that you have to actually have on hand, you know, income and things like that. So you know, you could really get into a home anywhere from 0% down to, you know, putting $200,000 down. It really depends on your scenario. You know, credit's a very big portion of that, big proponent of, you know, what you're actually being able to be eligible for when it comes to purchasing a home. So, I mean, you know, just generally speaking, you know, 3.5% to 5.5% of a purchase price is really just a minimum requirement. You don't really need to have 20% down to purchase a home or hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not really necessary. So it really depends. You know, everyone's situation is different and unique, and I think that's what makes, you know, buying a house, you know, that much more exciting, because, you know, there's a lot of common misconceptions when it does come time to buy a home.
So this guy knows what he's talking about. He's one of the best here in Arizona. Since we're on the topic about money, I did also want to ask, you know, credit score. What does that got to look like for someone in order to purchase a home?
You know, really just like assets, you can really have a wide range. You know, I've you know, helped clients from really a 550 to, you know, the 810s. You know what I mean? It really does depend. Ideally, you know, getting some of the programs that, you know, really only require you to put minimum down 3.5% to 5%, like we just spoke about. You really want to have scores anywhere between 620 to 640. That's kind of the ideal mark. Anything above that is outstanding. That's awesome. Some of the down payment assistance programs that we spoke about, and we might speak about here, you really want to have 640 or higher. That's the intent. Those are the minimum requirements of the program. Us as a mortgage lender, we don't decide that. That's actually decided by the state. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. But you don't have to have that perfect credit score to buy a home. I've done it, you know, previously a couple weeks ago. I was able to get a client qualify for a 580 score. But they did have money to put down, and you score that because they did have a little bit lower credit score. That did require them to have, you know, to put a little bit of money down. So there is no utopia score that you have to have. It doesn't. There's just not. But kind of go circle back around here. You know, 620 to 640 is really where you want to be at.
Perfect. And what about for those who have low credit scores? What's your best recommendation for those guys?
Yeah, to building credit, I mean, really 35% of your FICO score is made up by your payment history. That's the first thing I look at when I look at someone's credit, especially if they are a little bit lower. Are they making their payments on time? That's the first thing I'm going to take a look at and really advise them. You know, you really want to get your items current. You know, really the next part is your credit utilization is 30% of your actual FICO score. And what I mean by that is where your balance is compared to your limits, right? A lot of times, and a lot of reasons why credits are lower, people are 95% of their actual limit of their credit card, and that's going to bring their scores down. Especially if you have thin credit. And what I mean by thin credit is really people who only have a few different credit cards, 3 credit trade lines or 2 credit trade lines. When you maximize those out, that's going to impact your score. So I always say, and I always advise my client, you always want to have 4 to 7 different credit trade lines. And that doesn't have to be just credit cards. That's an auto loan, student loans, things of that nature. The common misconception is, you really shouldn't have a whole lot of credit cards. No, I mean, that's really not. As long as you don't exceed those limits and you make those payments on time, even just making the minimum payments, that's going to help boost your score.
Right. So if I have a $6,000 credit line, I shouldn't go on a shopping spree and spend like $5,500?
No, I definitely wouldn't advise that, especially if you're only going to be making those minimum payments. Right. But if like you're baller like yourself, I mean, I'm sure you can pay that off right then and there, right?
Yeah. So moving on, let's go over some of the most common loans. What loans do you deal with most of the time, and what loans are generally harder than others? Let's see. You know more than I do in this,
So I mean, there's really 4 different types. You have your VA loan, which is for veterans. You have your FHA mortgage, which is a government loan, and basically that just means it's insured by the federal government, protects mortgage lenders. You have your conventional mortgage, which is a traditional mortgage, and then you have your non-traditional mortgages. Those are going to be your jumbo loans, those higher purchase prices. The homes that you see on Camelback Mountain. Typically, people are going to buy those with a jumbo mortgage, and that's just with a little bit higher loan amounts and things like that. So there's about the 3 or 4 most common loan products out there. There are different ones, but those are when you really have to get in a little bit more detail. But those are the high overview programs out there.
Perfect. What about first-time home buyers? Can you go into a little detail for them? I know a lot of people watching right now might be thinking, oh, I am nowhere near buying a home, but you could be close. It could be next month for you. After watching this video, you're going to be a little more advanced. Can you go over first-time home buyers, what they can do?
Yeah, I mean, the first things first is taking a look at your credit. That's going to be the biggest determinant, because like we spoke about earlier, that's going to make up what your minimum down payment requirement or contribution is going to be. Assets is another thing. Even with first-time home buyer programs out there, they unfortunately do not cover the entire cost.
Right.
Because not only you have your down payment, you also have your closing costs. So that's something that you really have to keep in mind. And additionally, income and stable income. What type of income you are receiving? Are you commission? Are you W-2? Is your income volatile? So those are a couple things that you really have to start looking at. And I always tell my clients, and especially my first-time home buyers, we're not going to have all the answers right up front. You're not going to have that perfect situation up front. I always say, assets, credit, income, they're all little pieces. And the whole idea is putting that piece, that puzzle together. That one piece you might try to connect to the other one, and it might not fit. So you might have to, try another piece, see if that, really creates that entire puzzle. And so what I guess what I'm trying to say here is, for a first-time home buyer, don't be discouraged. There's steps that we have to take in order to purchase a home, and it's just building that game plan. And I always like to say, if I can't help you in a home today, I'm at least gonna help you get a game plan going, so you can buy here in the future.
That was really good. That's really informative. Now, there's some people out there watching that might be renting. In your opinion, I did want to ask you, what are some of the biggest advantages you've seen, or you notice, or you just know of owning than renting? What are those advantage points?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, the cost of renting is so expensive, and you're really paying for someone else's mortgage, as you're making your rent payment each month, and it's not helping your overall wealth, as years go on. Previously, a homeowner was in their home for 5 to 7 years. We're seeing a little bit longer time, 10 years before they're really willing to sell that home. So by owning a home, you're building wealth and equity as the home starts to appreciate, which is huge, because you can use that and parlay that money that you're building to maybe pay off some of that that credit card debt that we spoke about earlier. You know what I mean? Take some cash out of the equity, or use that money towards the purchase of your new home, or home that you might be looking to expand your family with, and things like that. There's the tax advantages as well of owning a home. Even with the new changes from the current administration in regards to the tax plan and things like that, it really doesn't affect too many people here in Arizona. So You still can benefit, you know, on tax season by owning a home. That's a huge component, you know, to, you know, owning a home. And then also, you know, the little stuff, right? You know, being able to, you know, have a family and grow into a home, and additionally, you know, paint your walls whatever color you want without having to pay a fee at the end. You know what I mean? So that's what makes it unique by owning a home. It's yours. I mean, that's something that you can actually call yours. So
perfect. And investment properties, do you support that? Is that something you guys can help with too?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing a deal right now for a client who is buying a, you know, an investment property, and the minimum requirement down is 20%. And the reason why that's a little bit higher is because it is deemed a little bit more risky to the banks, because you're buying another home, another big asset. You typically want to have a little bit better credit scores as well when you do buy an investment property. That's pretty huge. But yeah, I mean, that's residual income each month, right? So that's something that you can bring in. And we're in this, you know, we talk about this crazy rental market where, you know, rents are pretty expensive these days, right? So, you know, typically, you know, you can get a mortgage for a lot cheaper than you can, you know, for actual rental payments. So you're going to have some sort of income each month. Which is great, and people will rent them out, you know, either an Airbnb, or they'll rent it out on a whole year lease, or a couple year lease, or things like that. And at the end of the day, you know, if they ever decide to, you know, sell the home and you have something else, you know, paying for the mortgage, and that balance of your mortgage keeps on going down each month, you know, in 10-15 years you're gonna have a, you know, property that's home free and clear, and there's your retirement right there. So that's a huge component. I definitely support it.
Yeah, I support that too. If you're looking for investment properties, this is your guy. One thing I did want to ask you, just more about you. I know loans can be tough. It's not the easiest job, and there's customers that make your day, and there's customers that turn it around. I just wanted to ask you, you know, what pushes you? What kind of drive do you have behind you that helps not only you but your mindset, and to keep pushing and keep striving, keep closing those deals?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, every day is a completely different day. Like you mentioned, you can have your good clients and your bad clients, you know, clients that beat you up on every little thing that you ask them to do or provide, and it does make it tough. But for me, I'm a people pleaser. I don't want a client walking away from a closing table and, you know, regretting their decision to work with me, or say why it's so and so, or why did that real estate agent, you know, recommend, you know, the Messina team, because it was an awful experience. I would never want that. Good thing is I've never heard that before, and I mean, my hopes are never that to happen. But I mean, the main point is, what I'm trying to get is, you know, what drives me is, you know, for me, if you do the things right morally, you know, good things are going to come. You know, luck isn't, you know, something that just comes out of thin air. You make your own luck, right? And what really drives me is really help people, and the most rewarding call is making that call after closing, and them thanking you up and down, and how much, you know, owning a home, or you know, being a home, or starting this family, if they just got married or just had a kid, is going to help them, you know, build a relationship, not with their immediate family, but their, you know, expanded family as well. So that's what drives me. I mean, there's some days that you don't want to wake up, because you know it's going to be rougher than others, but you got to get through it. And I think also, I'm my own boss, so I don't really have to report to anyone, which is nice. I don't have someone, you know, yelling at me, you know, other than my accountability partner, which is you know, I think it's really great, really great to have, and encourage anyone to get a coach, because you always got to learn. You always got to you know, have someone push you and drive you outside your own internal self. But yeah, I mean, you know, basically, you know, what I'm trying to say is, I make my own income. You know, I'm essentially self-employed. So if I don't go to work and work my butt off, then I'm gonna, you know, be left at the end of the month with a $0 commission check, and no one can survive off of $0. So I have a drive internally to, you know, provide for my future family and get everything set up. So when I do decide to have a family, you know, we're solid. So I mean, that's kind of my goal, and that's who I am. You know, again, I'm a people pleaser. I want to, you know, please my family as well. Even though I don't have one quite yet, you know, that's something that's definitely in my future, and want to provide for that.
I admire people like you, Josh. I mean, not only are you your own boss, but You get to help customers every day. You get to put people in homes, in their dream houses, maybe even some in their investments. And you know, this guy right here, he's a young baller. He's motivated. He has drive, and he's looking out for his family that may not exist right now. But when they do, he wants a solid foundation for them. That's what you call an OG. That's 100% right there. For real, it's like it doesn't get much cooler than this. Is there anything you wanted to add or just give out to?
I mean, I would say never be hesitant. Even if you feel like you're not ready yet, at least consult, speak to someone like myself, and see where you stand. I mean, that's the first step, right? You're never gonna be perfect. There's no such thing. So gotta see where you stand first, and then we can work on a game plan, or whoever you decide to use. You know, work on a game plan and get the ball rolling. Don't ever be hesitant to not start the process because you feel you're not ready.
You got people like us, you know, reach out to me, send me an email, leave a comment below this video. There will be Josh's information below this video. You can contact him, you can reach him, and we'll be in touch with you. Any questions you have, give us a call. You never know, we might just put you into your next dream house. And thanks for watching this Financial Friday. This is Fred Financial, and with Josh Messina here.
Thanks, guys.
So, see you guys later.
See ya.
So you really think I'm a baller?
Absolutely, man.
Woo!